Gardening shows are all the rage these days, making a big splash on social media. And those that know all about growing and protecting fruits and vegetables to plants and flowers can easily make a successful channel on YouTube. It's a well-known fact that if you have any questions or concerns about your garden, you'll find the answers for sure on YouTube. You offer a wealth of helpful information to your subscribers, making your garden show a success. But what happens when you're in the middle of filming your gardening show and you're attacked by a species of fungus that uses its spores to turn its victims into zombies? Hello there. Thank you for joining me on another night filled with tales of terror. Tonight's story is about a gardening show and how they'd handle a contamination of a deadly fungus and spores. And we all know that with gardening, if you don't know what you're doing, the results can be catastrophic to your whole crop, to your whole everything. So before we begin, I just want to let you know that, hi, my name is Roberta Griffin, and I am very thankful for you coming and checking out my channel, Scary Girl Griffin. Now, I'll also let you know that the stories that you hear on my channel are either factual, fictional, or somewhere in between. But I will always let you know at the end of each video what it is that you've just listened to. So for now, get comfortable, hit the like and subscribe buttons, turn down the lights, and let's begin. Andrew and Tate are celebrating today. They run a gardening show on YouTube and they just hit their 1 million subscribers mark. So to celebrate, they decided to do a live show with not only a live stream, but a select group of audience members to be on the show with them. They'll have a Q&A with live demonstrations of gardening techniques and tips, as well as gifts and prizes. For the moment, everyone on the team is in overdrive, making sure that everything comes together beautifully. Cameras and microphones are a check. The teleprompter is up and running for the Q&A portion of the show. Plants, seeds, water, fertilizer, insects are all set up and good to go. With the guests arriving soon, they've planned for them to be greeted with a fresh bottle of water, a homemade vegetarian lunch made with all the fresh ingredients grown here in Andrew and Tate's garden, and a gift basket filled with seeds, samples of organic pest controls and soils, a booklet filled with tips and tricks for a bountiful garden, and a container filled with beneficial insects. Everyone is excited and working to make the day a success. Inside the barn, Jacob, a crew member, is putting together the gift baskets for the guests. He works diligently using proper gardening gloves so he doesn't contaminate any of the organic material. Say cheese, a camera flashes as Jacob looks up with a smile. Looking good, Jacob, Leslie, the camera person, says as she snaps some behind-the-scene pics. Well, thank you, Jacob replies as he continues his work. She snaps a few more pics, then strolls out with a quick "see you later." See you, Leslie, Jacob says as he reaches into the box with the beneficial insects. As he picks up the small containers, he notices a small ball of lint at the bottom of the box. He doesn't think much about it. I mean, it's a dirty job, and finding lint or dust inside boxes isn't uncommon. So he puts it out of his head and continues to go about his job, which he needs to finish soon because guests will start arriving any minute. As he's wrapping everything up, he doesn't notice his gloved hand brush against the ball of lint that has now attached itself to the glove. What's more, he doesn't seem to notice that the ball of lint is beginning to separate into spores that are finding their way into all of the gift baskets and under his sleeve. He grabs his radio and calls for Kim, the production manager. Hey Kim, baskets are good to go. Awesome, be there in a second. About a second later, Kim bounces in. Jacob looks at her surprised. You weren't kidding. I never kid about time, Kim retorts with a smile as she looks over the gift baskets. These look amazing, Jacob, she says as she places them into a larger box. Jacob liked and respected Kim. Her praise made him even more pleased with himself. Okay, truth be told, he had a crush on her. And who wouldn't? She was smart, pretty, and a real go-getter. Everyone believed that the show wouldn't be nearly as successful as it is without her. She admired the great work Jacob did with the baskets and was going to make a point of acknowledging him in front of everyone for his brilliant work. Leslie walked over and admired the work as well, taking pictures of everything. She even snapped a few of Kim while she smiled and made funny faces for the camera. Jacob was still in the barn cleaning up so he could enjoy the show while it was being filmed. But as he was sweeping, his arm began to itch. It was the arm that the spores had attached to. He started to scratch at the itch, but it seemed the more he scratched, the worse the itch became. So he rolled up his sleeve and was taken aback at the sight of his arm. The flesh on his arm was beginning to marble like it was dying, and as he scratched his arm, the flesh began to crumble and flake off. What the hell is happening? Jake thought as he continued to scratch the incessant itch. Before his eyes, it was spreading up and down his arm. This was scaring him. He was becoming frightened by this really weird occurrence. Was he having an allergic reaction to something? It couldn't be. He was around everything he handled today, just like every other day. The itching became so overwhelming, he started to bite at his arm, tearing into his flesh with his teeth. He was spiraling into a frenzy. His breathing started to shallow as his chest began to tighten. He pulled off his shirt and saw that the strange marbling rash had spread to his entire torso within seconds. He began to get very dizzy to the point where he fell to the floor. The blood in his mouth began to coagulate and choke him. He knew he was going to die, and he didn't know why. He tried to get to his feet, but his body felt like a ton of lead. He fell backwards onto the ground and lay there, succumbing to whatever this was that took him over in a matter of seconds. The guests were arriving now, and Kim was there to greet each one with a bottle of water, snack, and a gift basket. All were happy and excited to be there while they got comfortable in their seats, waiting for the show to begin. Feel free to dig into your lunches while you all wait for the show to begin, Kim told all the guests. They all responded with ooh and ah while they thanked her. Kim went over into the house where Andrew and Tate were getting ready. Leslie had managed to get there before her and was snapping pictures of the two as they prepared for the show. "How's it going, guys?" Kim asked as she looked them over. They had on matching Andrew and Tate gardening show hats and t-shirts, which reminded her that she needed to make sure she had enough shirts and hats ready for the Q&A section. During this section, Andrew and Tate would ask questions, and whoever got the answers right would win a free shirt or hat for added fun. She found the box with the shirts and hats and grabbed it, telling Andrew and Tate that she would be heading out to the control area now. Leslie told them she was finished with the stills and would now be heading over to the camera to get ready for filming. Kim sat behind the control panel and put on her earpiece and microphone to communicate with Leslie. They did a quick camera and audio check and all checked out perfectly, and they were ready to roll. Kim stood up and welcomed the guests on the bleachers along with the guests watching from the internet. She saw that Andrew and Tate were making their way over to the location they would be filming today and quickly introduced them. Let's give a big applause to Andrew and Tate, everyone, and for those of you watching at home, make sure to give us a big thumbs up. The applauding took place as Andrew and Tate began thanking everyone for celebrating this beautiful day with them and rolled right into their show. Kim watched with a big smile as everything was running smoothly, but then she sensed an itch in her hand and scratched it. That only made it worse, so she began scratching more and more. The itch started to get stronger, more deliberate, she thought as she started to dig her fingernails into her hand. Her eyes remained on the monitor as she dug into her hand, not yet noticing the changes that were taking place. Leslie heard Kim let out a grrr and asked her over the two-way communication they had if she was all right. Kim told her, "Yes, I just have an irritating itch." Leslie suggested she probably got bit by something, which was another common occurrence when working with plants, soil, and insects. Kim agreed and kept watching the monitor, but then she caught a glimpse of what should be Jacob stumbling towards Andrew and Tate. But he looked dead and grotesque. She heard Leslie blurt out, "What the hell is that?" Kim strained at the screen, but she was beginning to feel dizzy and sick, and the itch was only getting worse. Then she heard the audience. They were becoming loud and unruly. What in the world is happening, she thought, as she shoved her hand into her mouth and mindlessly began biting at her flesh. Within seconds, she realized what she was doing and started to gag. She jumped to her feet and fell backwards on the ground. She was now succumbing to whatever it was that had taken Jacob. As she lay there dying, she could hear Leslie screaming in her ear, "What's happening? Kim, answer me! Oh my God!" And a blood-curdling scream blared into Kim's ear, followed by obscene chewing sounds. Jacob had gotten to Leslie. He attacked her and bit off her ear. He then went into a frenzy and began feasting on her. Andrew and Tate started to freak out at the sight of Jacob and Leslie. Then they began to freak out over the sight of their guests. They had been infected too and were starting the change, some faster than others. Kim sat up, she stumbled to her feet and saw Andrew and Tate slowly backing away with their faces distorted in utter terror. She had to get to them. It wasn't even a question. She had to sink her teeth into them. She moved towards them with her eyes on them and only them. She was on a mission, and that mission was to satiate this overwhelming need, infect them with what was inside of her, and be effective at it. Screams of terror were filling the bleachers now. Those that had changed were now attacking the others ferociously. Kim saw that she was now in a race with Jacob to get to Andrew and Tate. She didn't care. She was going to have them both, and it was going to be wonderful. As Andrew and Tate tripped over themselves to escape, they literally tripped themselves, making Kim's conquering of at least Tate a success. Her teeth clamped down hard and fast on him, and she went crazy with hunger. Jacob was fortunate enough to get a hold of Andrew since he seemed to be the last living human around. The viewers were sickened and horrified as they watched the grotesque attacks on everyone. Some thought it might be a prank, and debates began to flood the chatting section as to whether this was real or not. After the short-lived massacre, Jacob, Kim, and all the other remaining zombies began to venture out past the small farm in search of more hosts to infect with this deadly fungus. While all of this was taking place, the remaining insects inside the box were now under attack from the spores that had affected Jacob and everyone else. The insects' bodies were quickly becoming covered with a strange parasitic fungus that clung to them as they made their escape into the air and eventually into the world to follow their human counterparts in propagating the world with the deadly fungal spores. So, how about that? A deadly fungus is always a real bummer for gardeners, and this fungus just brought things up to a whole new level. Devastating. In case you haven't figured it out yet, yes, this story, Garden Full of Zombies, is yet another story created from my scary brain. And thank goodness, too. I mean, gardening can be difficult, and add in a zombie-making fungus, no thank you. Well, it's time to say goodnight, but before we go, click the like and subscribe buttons, leave me a comment below, and prepare for more tales of terror delivered to you weekly at 3 a.m. So until then, stay safe and stay scary.